In the previous video, we talked about the source panel, how we can create master clips and secondary clips, and how we can use them to create our first cuts using the in point, the out point here in the source panel. And also we saw all of the features here of the source panel and how we can play it back, how we can use the save frames, and also how we can start to insert the clips inside the timeline. So in this video, we're going to continue with the program panel and we're going to add some extra information about this. You can see it's really similar to the source panel, yet it does have some extra features and some other commands and that you can do. And in the previous video, we also talked about transcript captions. So we're not gonna see this again in here. So it's a really simple operation. So before we continue, just want to point out that we can continue to create other secondary clips by right-clicking. And if you right-click, you can make a subclip from here. And this is going to be like one subclip. This is another subclip. And you have the master clip and the subclips. You can put them in folders. You can organize them. You can re-edit them by right-clicking and clicking on Edit Subclip. When we drag in some clip, we can also edit it directly from the timeline. So these red icons right here, they represent basically the extension. So you can like shorten a video, but you're basically cutting. So you're basically defining an in point and an out point also from here. You can also click and drag and move this around. You can click and drag. And I accidentally changed the opacity here. So I'm going to explain more about the timeline in another video. I want to concentrate more on the program panel. So this is just to show you that you can also do some of the editing that we've done in the previous video also directly in the timeline and also here, because also here we have a in point and an out point, but this is going to work a little bit different from before. So we're going to get into this in just a second. Now, before we continue in the program, one last thing I want to show you from the source, and then probably we're going to come back here later. Well, we saw that we can see the audio and the video of the source, and we can define here. Let's put an in point and out point. So this is going to be synchronized, the audio and the video. So if I go up here again, this is going to be my master. So if I right click and create a subclip, let's call this cut. Okay, now you can see that the one that is secondary clip and it's been edited, it has these two icons representing the in-out points of the cut. So I will put this in the subclips. So and if I drag this in here, we can see the track in there with the audio. And let me just delete this sequence. I just want to create a new one so we don't get too confused with too many tracks. Okay, so you can see now that audio and video are synchronized. But if you want, if I double click also here on the timeline, I can access the source directly by clicking on the track in the timeline. And I can see again the audio and the video. And what if I want to do a different cut for the audio and the video? So if I right click here around this area, there you go, and you need to be inside the view, we can go and change the in and out. So instead of doing the simple mark in and mark out feature, we can go to mark split, and we can define a different video in and out and audio in and out. So if I click video in, this is going to be my in point for the video, and this is going to be my out point for the video, and this is going to be my in point for the audio, and this is my out point for the audio. You can see how it's automatically affecting also the track in the timeline. So if I move this around, if I click and drag this track, you can see that they're still together. So they are not cut in the same part, but they're still being synchronized. And so wherever I move this, they're still going to be synchronized. So another thing I can do is unlock them or like disconnect them. So to do this, I need to right click right here, and I'm going to go to the unlink. So now these two are not linked together. So I can use this video track right here and use the audio right here. So they're not gonna move together anymore. They're gonna be like independent, separated. So non-synchronized. And also another thing we can do if we want to actually remove the audio, well, now we can remove it because it's not linked. But if they are linked together, if they're synchronized, what you can do is just lock one of the two and then delete the other with the delete key on the keyboard. Now let me go back a little bit. And again, I want to right click and unlink those. So another thing now I can do is change the speed or the duration in a separate way. So if I right click, I can also access from here many of the features that we access also from the project panel. And one of these is going to be the speed and duration. So now if I change the video speed, let's make it like 50%. So it's going to be slower and the duration will be double. And I say, okay, well, now you can see we are only affecting the video, and same thing goes for the audio. So right click and you can change the speed and the duration of the audio separately. Now if their two are connected, so let's go back when they were synchronized like this, and right now they're synchronized. Now if I right click again and I go to speed duration, this is going to affect both. And if I do, for example, reverse speed, you can see it's not telling me the duration because these are now they're not similar. So let's actually delete this and bring again the original file without the cut. So you can see that now they are together the same length. So if I right click, go in the speed duration, if I reverse the speed, this is going to reverse the speed only of the video. So if I say okay, the video is going to go forward. Sorry, the video is going to go backward while the audio is going to go forward. Again, let's Control Z, and you can see a red line there indicating that. So if I go again here and say, okay, I want to reverse the speed, but I also want to maintain the audio in the same direction of the video, you can do that. And there you go. So now they should move in the same direction, so that they should still be synchronized. But ripple edit, shifting trailing clips. So we're gonna see different types of editing, but basically this is gonna move the so that nothing gets like deleted or is gonna be overwritten. Now we're gonna come back here also later on. So let's just say okay. So now if I change the speed, if there are other clips around, that's not gonna like delete anything. It's just gonna move those around. So before we get into the action, I just want to point out that what we're doing in Premiere is called the non-linear video editing. You can find all the information on the web, but you can see why it's called like this, because you can make changes, you can change and cut and go back, and you don't need to follow like a linear timeline. You can go back and forward and do reversible operation. And this is what we can do in Premiere Pro and also similar software. Now I want to go in the Mixkit website. I typed here what talking, and I'm searching for videos. So I want to get just a video where I can test some of the editing and the cuts, etc., etc. So you can just scroll around here, and you can pick one. So let's say I want this video right here, right? So if I click, I can select HD ready. I don't want like the big one, full HD. I don't really care. And I'm gonna just save it in a folder that I created for Mixkit. I also saved other videos, but I'm gonna go with this one here. So click and download, and and again, you find all the information here. I'm gonna close this. I'm gonna go back to Premiere and start a new project right away. So as usual, we are starting from scratch. I'm just gonna increase the level of difficulty little by little, video after video. I'm gonna choose the new location here. So I'm just gonna create a new folder, right click, new folder, project 07. That's gonna be our 7th lesson. And I want to keep everything as it is right here. I don't want to touch anything. I don't want to use a template. And we already saw what the import settings are, so I'm not gonna use transcriptions or other stuff. Just gonna create an empty project. And before I start, there you go, I want to change also the interface. Now this is the essentials interface, but if you go down here, you also find an editing interface. This is probably the best one if you want to do montage, video editing. So click there, and you can also customize this a little bit. So you can see you have the tools. This is the timeline right here, and this is the program panel, and right here is separated from the source. So the source and the program are not on the same spot, because that's probably better when you do montages. So I want to reorganize the size a little bit, and the project panel is down here. So this is where you want to import your media. And what I'm going to do is just drag and drop directly from the folder the video that I've just downloaded. So I click and drag. Now it's different if you drag it directly in the project panel or in the timeline. Now this time I want to use the timeline, so I'm going to drop it right here. You cannot drop it in the source or the program, so I'm just going to drop it in the timeline, and it's also going to appear here in the program. Now you may see there are some guides here, and this is all part of the program that I have changed a little bit, and I'm just going to deactivate those from there. So basically the program panel is really similar to the source, because it has all these buttons down here. You can also click on the plus and add more of these, or delete more one of those, and you can also reset everything to the basics. So this is how it should look like also to you. And if I double click again here, now I can see the same frame and the same clip both in the source and in the program. Now let's go quickly over this. We still have the markers. We already saw the markers. So I can click here, I can right click, or I can double click and edit the marker. I can give here a name. So this could be girl speaking. You can change color. You can make it like a chapter marker. You can give it a timing. So let's put here 1 second and like 15 frames. And you can put a web link and other stuff right here. So let's keep it simple. So this is girl speaking right here. So I can take note of this, and I can click and drag these markers around either from the program or from the timeline. So program and timeline are strictly connected. And you will see also that this will snap to the CTI, to the cursor. And also it will make the CTI snap. Well, to do this, you need to hold the shift key, and that's gonna snap in there. So you can use markers to be more precise, and you can also click and drag these around from here. So they can help you in all the phases of the editing or montage. So then you have here the in point, and you have out point. So in and out, just like the source. So why it's different from the source? Well, because here mainly what we do with this is to define an area that we want to either lift or extract. So let me see here, and if I click lift, it's just going to cut that part out, and it's going to leave a gap. So then you need to click and drag this with the left mouse, and you can see it again is snapping to the cursor, is snapping to the other video, is snapping to the markers. So I'm gonna make a snap right here so that the cut is no more. So when I play back using the play button, you will see there is like some part missing. Okay, so there is a jump. So I go back, Control Z. So these again are the in and out. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the extract. Now when you extract, that part again is gonna be cut out, but instead of having a gap, the two parts now are connected. So if I press play, you can see directly the jump forward. So this is why you can use the in point and out point. This is one of the reasons you can use in point and out point directly from the program. Now let's expand again with the plus, and we can also use here the loop. So if I use the loop feature here. There you go. That's the loop. And there is also this one here, which is play the video only in the in and out part. So let's drag in here, say okay. So if I press play, this is gonna play only the in and out. And if I activate the loop, it's gonna play this part and it's gonna loop it all over again and restart infinitely. So you can deactivate or activate this. If you play normally, that's just gonna, ignore the out point and in point. So we can add in point, out point, we can move to the in point, we can move to the out point, we can move frame by frame backward, frame by frame forward. If you want, for each one of these, you have the various keys, shortcut keys that you can see and you can use if you roll over with your mouse. And this is to take a snapshot, just as we did in the previous lesson. So if I want to save this, let's save it like a JPEG. So you decide the format, decide the folder. If you want, you can directly import it in your project, and there you go. You can say okay. So now it's right here. So you can click and drag and position this as a static image. So maybe you want to, make a still frame of that. You want to stop the video, then proceed. And also, if you right click here, we can go and see where this went. So if I go in the reveal in Explorer, there you go. This is my snapshot folder. This is where I'm been saving all the snapshots. Okay, so let me just delete this. So delete, and let's move forward. Now this one here is comparison view. This is also really interesting. So here I can see two different views. So one is the standard timeline. So you can see that if I click on the CTI and I roll over here with my mouse, I drag my mouse around, we can see that, this is in this moment of the video. Right here, instead, we have a separate timeline. So we can compare. We can see what's, here and then what's before, what's after. We can use a different time code. So if I click and drag on the time code, it's going to go forward, and it works basically the same as the other one right here. Okay, so also I can click here, I can click inside, I can define a precise timing. Same goes for this one here and this other one right here. So you can also compare vertical split, and you have a split line, you can click and drag, or horizontal, click and drag, and you can quickly move here to the beginning and the end. And also, if you made some cuts, you can move into edits. So edit means that if you have a cut right here, so let's assume we just extract this part, so you can move to the various cuts. So right now there is one like after a certain point. And let's just deactivate this. Then we have other stuff like proxy, but I want to talk about that later, like the multicam record or the toggle multicam. Well, we're gonna see those things later on. You can delete the in point, the out point. You can go to the next edit point also from here. So if you're interested in this, you can just click and drag them here. You can also reorganize them here. You can also drag a space between those, and markers, go to next marker, go to previous marker, and play around. This means that it's gonna like, let me show you here. If I click, it's gonna go like, it's gonna restart from a little before the actual play. And you can also change this from the preferences. So if you go to edit preferences, playback, you can change the pre-roll, post-roll, and you can set up things from here that are kind of a little bit more advanced. I don't want to show you everything because some things are like secondary and more advanced. Now you can also use the insert here and the override, which were part of the source panel together with the extract and the lift. You also have the same frames here, and you can also revert the trim section. So if you trim something, you can revert the trim or the cut. You have FX, but we're gonna see those later. You have rulers, you have guides. You can use the snap for the graphics, and you can use also the gang or snap source and program. Let's add also this, and then if you can also use VR if you have VR, of course. Now it's kind of a mess right here, but I'm just gonna show you the ones that you don't already know. So the gang source and program means that I can now link this CTI to this other CTI. So if I move this, it's gonna also move the other one. So if I want to move them like synchronized, I probably need to go to the same time 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and I link, and now if I click and drag, you can see that these are now synchronized. VR, you need to have a VR display, and show rulers. These are the rulers up here. They represent the pixels. So if you click and drag, you can see already some of those. If you can also drag them out if you don't want them. And this can be used with graphics or with any other thing that is going to go in your composition. So that can be used to organize graphics inside your project. Safe margins, we already know those. And then we have well, override and insert. But what are we overriding and inserting? Well, you're overriding and inserting what you're seeing here in the source. So if I click, you can see that it's taking that and it's putting it in there again. Or again, insert. Override is just gonna substitute. Insert is going to leave everything untouched, but it's going to create a cut. Now, I want to show you this in just a second. Let me just finish with this. And another interesting one is the that I didn't actually brought in is this one here, snap to the graphics. So if I activate this, let's create some graphic in here. So let me create a rectangle, really easy. So if I click and drag, it's going to be positioned there somewhere. If I use the selection and click inside, I can move this around, and you can see it's snapping to the guides. It's even snapping to the middle of the video, and this is thanks to the snapping program. You can also hold Control if you want to use it, and you can also use the Shift if you want to constrain this moving around and snapping in your screen. And so you can see there are like primary and secondary features here. So we're gonna show more of these later. I'm just gonna reset the layout here. And also wanna point out that if you press L, the video is gonna play forward. And if you continue to press L, it's gonna like increase the speed more and more. If you wanna go backward, you can use the J. So J, again, if you continue to press J, is going to increase. So you can press L, you can press J and move around. You can also stop by using K, and it's gonna stop in that frame. So it's kind of using play and stop right here. So I just want to point out these really important shortcut keys. Now I want to delete also this graphic, and I want to deactivate the guides. So you can also right click, and some of these can be also found in here. So also you have overlays, other stuff here, safe margins also from here, and let me see here, clear the markers if you want. Display mode, you can check the alpha channel or the video or the comparison view here also. And that is it. So I actually want to change here, and I don't want to see the guides, so I'm gonna hide or clear the guides. Okay, and so let me show you some a little bit more advanced thing, which is the 3-point or 4-point insertion. So right now I define a in point and out point. So these are 2 points, and here I'm using just the source. I didn't create like subclips. I just want to use the source. So if I say, okay, I want to define here an endpoint. So this is going to be my endpoint here. So if I put here the in and leave these two here, when I press on the insert, either if it's in the source or it's in the program, well, that's gonna add that clip starting from the endpoint inside the area that I marked out with the in and out point right here. So you can see that it's starting here and then it kind of restarts, and all the rest is not deleted, but it's just moved forward. Let me go back. You can see Control Z. This is the area that I want to work with. And what if I say, okay, I want to, instead of inserting, I want to override. Well, in that case, that part is going to be completely overridden. So it's not going to be moved forward. So that's the difference. We already saw that previously, but just to recap, and you can do it also from here. Now you can use the in point, but you can also use the out point. So let's say that I want this as a out point right here. So when I insert now, let me just delete the right click and clear the out point, sorry, the in point. So I want to leave the out point only. And again, let's do it, but right now I want to use this other panel. So let's activate the override, for example. So if I click override, again, that part is going to be substituted. You can see it's perfectly matching the out point right here. And so it goes from the out point and it's going to fill that part, taking that as a reference. If you set up here, let's set up the in point and also the out point. So I want to really have a short clip here. You can see it's really small while this area is bigger. So if I set up 4 points instead of 3, look what happens. If I say, okay, let me override this again. Well, it's going to show you this panel because you need to make a decision. You either change the clip speed in order to perfectly fit in that spot, or you need to ignore the source out point, meaning that it's going to start from the in point until it reaches this point, or you can ignore the sequence in point. So it doesn't matter here, the in point is not going to be considered, or the out point. So it means that it's just going to go forward until it's finished. So let's just change the clip speed and let's see what happens. So now if I play this back, you can see that it reaches there and it's going to go really, really slow. And we can also see the passing of the frames because we don't have enough frame per second to show this in a nice slow motion fashion. So this is what happens when you define 4 points, 1, 2, and then 3, 4 here. It's going to take that part from the source and it's going to make it fit in here. So if this is going to be smaller and this is going to be bigger, well, what's going to happen? Again, let's override and again change the clip speed. You can see there's going to be a really fast clip in there. So you can definitely play a lot with these editing tools. This first editing tools, we're gonna see more, but these are the ones that you get from source and program, and then we're gonna talk more about the timeline and all these tools right here. Now, before we finish, if you press F1, you can open up the help and you can find a lot of stuff in here like get started, tutorials, whatever. If you're looking for something specific, let's say like insert, you can look for that. And remember, I want to continue here, United States. Remember to filter by Adobe Premiere Pro. So you can see that you have all the tools here explained. So if you don't understand something, you can just type, for example, VR, and you can find all the information about this with images, videos, and all the written indications. So anything you want to know more and you want to become more and more expert and go into advanced features, you can definitely use the help and the manual. So we're gonna stop here for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe to the channel to stay updated for more lesson. And also, if you want to thank us, if you want to support us, please join the channel as a supporter and check out other courses and video guides. So thanks again. See you in the next lesson.